Williams comes in at quarterback. The former North Carolina Tar Heel, he runs it on a draw play right into the end zone. Perez. Colby Pearson breaks a tackle, and there he goes. Bye-bye. Touchdown, Guardians. Ball batted in the air and intercepted. That certainly won't help. Ryan Mueller, he takes it in for the score. To get their first road win of the season, New York goes to 3-2. They knock off Dallas 30-12.
What's going on, football fans? This is the XFL show, and this is a post-game recap of the New York Guardians thumping of the Dallas Renegades 30-12. This is Bryant.
This is the gargoyle overlooking the metropolis, otherwise known as Alan, the guy who loves to scream out,
Wait a minute.
Guardians!
They named the gargoyle Alan?
No, it's actually named Gotham. Man, I was having fun yelling Guardians this entire game. Big plays all over the place for a team that's been searching for him on offense. This was shocking in the sense that the score was so much. They hit the over, Brian. I can't believe it. I picked a 12-9 victory for the Guardians, but this was ridiculous.
Well, the Guardians almost hit the over of 33, I believe, and a half by themselves with those 30 points. Alan, are you in Dallas? Because the Guardians have not won unless you're in the building. So I was just curious to see if you're in Dallas.
No, this is the first time the Guardians did not win a game I was at. And also just want to note this before we dive into this game. Officially now, the Houston Roughnecks, the only team to ever win a home game in the state of Texas. Still.
Undefeated in the state of Texas, in the United States of America, in the world, anywhere, really. They have not lost at all. Alan, we're going to go through some of these stats, some of these players that stood out to you here in a little bit. But first, in the game, we saw a lot of interesting plays. We saw a run back, a kickoff run back, which is always a lot of fun to see. The first one we've seen without some trickeration. We did see some pulling blockers, though. That was pretty cool. Some strategy behind this instead of just blocking the man that's in front of you.
Yeah, this was the second return we've ever seen in the league in this game. But really, unfortunately, it really didn't matter at all, Bryant. I mean, the Dallas Renegades were so inept on offense that this is spectacular play, although for a moment gave them some hope and brought them within, 15 points at that point in the third. It didn't really matter because Philip Nelson could not do anything at quarterback in this game. He was totally inaccurate. I cannot believe they didn't try anything else under center, honestly. I mean, I know that they're committed to him as the main backup to Landry Jones, but I mean, that guy just looked lost out there. He looked unsure of himself calling plays. There was the one the first drive, wasn't it, where he called a quarterback sneak? Out of nowhere, he audibled to a sneak that made no sense. This was baffling watching the Dallas Renegades, who we've seen have some great running attacks, have some great passing games, even among some turnovers with Donald Parham and Jeff Badette. It was baffling to watch their offense, though. With Hal Mummy up in the booth, it was a very different Dallas Renegades team today for me, and the Guardians, credit to them, took advantage.
Well, no Hal Mummy on the sidelines, but also no Landry Jones. He was nowhere to be found. Like you said, Philip Nelson was at the helm, 28 for 49, 210 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He did have that cool run where he saucered in the air or something like that. That was a lot of fun to watch for a first down. Alan Lewis-Perez on the other side, 16 for 30, 229 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. I texted you during this game. He might not be the best and most gifted and most talented quarterback out there, but damn, man, he really wanted him. If I was his receiver, I'd want to run a route for that man.
They voted him captain because they like the guy. So he is a very likable guy, even though his play sometimes can be bowling shoe ugly, but he's a bowler, so he's effective that way. So that works for him. And
you're gonna have to explain that one to me after the show.
even on an ugly duckling, dying quail of a pass, he still scored an 80-yard touchdown throw to Colby Pearson. I mean, this was a coming out of sorts for Luis Perez. At least for his teammates as a leader for the New York Guardians. This was an excellent game, I thought, for him. He is just a really an enjoyable guy to watch play football, to hear about his story. He's so amicable on the sidelines during the interviews too. He's got that aw shucks vibe that kind of reminds me of Peyton Manning, just with his demeanor as well. So seeing him kind of win over the team and really bring the Guardians out of the abyss that they were in just a couple of weeks ago, Brian, I definitely think is one of the highlights of the season so far.
It is, and this Guardians team has shown life that they did not show in weeks 2 and 3. Maybe signs of what the XFL is offering, what they can do. Remember, I keep saying it, but it just seems more and more prevalent that anything could happen in this league. We saw a touchdown.
You mean
from a lineman? Three
touchdowns in like 90 seconds? You mean that kind of thing happening?
One of those from a defensive. That's great. 3 touchdowns in 90 seconds. One of those from a defensive lineman, and the other one on a kickoff return. It's just full of excitement. I love it. Even in a 30-12 game, you really just don't know what's going to happen. And it was still a 2-possession game. I was doing the math in my head. I feel like an offense has to run like 5 possessions just for this game to be outside of 3 possessions away for the other team. It's really just baffling to me that it just seems like a team's never out of it. And it keeps these games very interesting, Alan. Let's go through some more of these stats. Darius Victor, 58 yards rushing for no touchdowns, though. Marquise Williams did get in that touchdown. He was in that shotgun quarterback draw that got them their touchdown on the ground. Tim Cook showed some signs of life here and there with 26 yards, and then Stockton, 41 yards on the ground. A good rushing game for this team, a well-balanced game, I would say. For the New York Guardians.
Stockton also had that big return too early in the game. I mean, you had a bunch of contributors on offense for the Guardians, but come on, you got to talk about their defensive players racked up some statistics in this game too. I mean, Bunmi Rutimi was in the backfield all game long. I don't know, he might have not even had a sack, but I think he was just hitting Philip Nelson constantly in this game. And then Savon Walker, who is the star defensive lineman, maybe in all the XFL so far. He had 2 sacks in this game, 2 tackles for loss. I mean, that guy, number 99 of the Guardians, if you haven't noticed him yet, I don't know what you're watching. He's everywhere on the defensive front for them. And then their leader on defense, Ben Heaney, showing up big. I mean, he was just everywhere as well. General of that defense. This defense turned up, Bryant, and that secondary, we've been saying all season long, they're one of the better units in the league, and that defensive front came to play against the Dallas Renegades running game that you expected, I thought, to really take it to the New York Guardians. They did not.
I did expect it to happen, and for whatever reason, the Dallas Renegades just could not get anything rolling. No momentum in this game. I know at half it was 6-6, and you felt like, Alan, your score was going to come in nicely, right? 12-9, I think is what you said. You had predicted this game to be. It did not. New York's team really kicked into gear and moved the ball as New York can. I mean, that's kind of what New York did when they beat Tampa Bay, right? They didn't look great, but they won the game. Last week against the Wildcats, they didn't look great, but they won the game.
Ball control and turnovers. Ball control and take the ball away and take away, something away from
your
that.
Opportunities.
Take away your opportunities. Screw you over in the red zone like they did to the Vipers, or in the Renegades case. I mean, totally discombobulate your quarterback for the entirety of the game. Philip Nelson's going to be sore after that one. That was rough for him. But also really notching it up and holding the Renegades to 56 rushing yards. Come on. Cameron Artis-Payne, a player we've been talking about a whole lot so far this season, Bryant. I mean, plus Lance Dunbar, throw him in there. And then they were trying to get Walter involved. He had the kick return, but the Renegades' rushing game was nowhere to be found. And when you have a backup quarterback in the game, you think you try to establish that. You think you try to lean on that. They couldn't. They could not do that. I thought they way too much Philip Nelson. He threw 49 times in this game. I know they were down for a lot of the second half, but geez.
But that's also Dallas's offense. You can't blame them for trying to stick to their games.
A lot of those throws are almost laterals, basically, as we saw last week on the interception fumble.
Exactly. So interception fumble, yes. So Where does Dallas go from here? They've had this man at a quarterback twice, have come back unsuccessful, I believe.
Never
did he even
scored a
score?
touchdown. He's never
Haven't scored a
been
touchdown, right?
involved on a touchdown scoring drive as an offensive unit. Not only, we're not talking about he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass. They haven't even ran the ball in for a touchdown with Philip Nelson at quarterback. With Brogan Roback, Eric Dungy there, knowledgeable football fans will tell you those are guys we'd like to see in there, maybe instead of Philip Nelson, who has looked bad for the Renegades. And this is a good team. I said it last week, Brian, underachieving compared to all the other teams. They are the team underachieving the most to me. This week proved it. And credit to the Guardians. They laid it on them. They are not an easy opponent, but Dallas could have showed up a little bit better than they did in this one at home, where they have yet to win a game.
Well, Alan, we say this always in the positive sense for the teams from behind. The Dallas Renegades could still be in a playoff position if the Wildcats lose tomorrow, so don't count them out quite yet. Still a lot of games to be played.
Well, technically, they'll still be in second, right? If LA wins, because they have the head-to-head. They do have
the head-to-head, but we still got another game to fix that out.
That's true.
But they could be in sole possession of second for the playoffs. Alan, looking ahead for both teams, the Dallas Renegades are
at DC next week, which
at DC
could be interesting if they flop again tomorrow, and then you got a banged up
floppers headed
a banged up underachieving Dallas team against a tanking DC team could be very interesting, and both teams will be playing for something still. This is the XFL. You're always in it, basically. We talked about that earlier with the Seattle Dragons at 1-5 or 1-4, still alive in the West. So good matchup, though. I like that matchup for Dallas, at least if they figure out what they're going to do at QB next week.
Well, if they stick with Philip Nelson, it still might be one of those games. Both teams have been struggling as of late.
We'll talk about what they should do at QB on the show on Tuesday morning. But spoiler alert from me, I'm going to say not Philip Nelson. That's a little teaser
not Philip Nelson
for our next episode.
And then you have the Guardians going back home where they have not lost.
Undefeated.
Taking on the Houston Roughnecks. I'm actually intrigued by this game more so than I thought it would be 2 weeks ago.
Why wouldn't you be?
Look at these two teams going. Yeah, you have New York who doesn't lose for whatever reason.
At home.
At home. They seem to have found their niche, which is just kind of do your thing and don't let the other team score. If PJ Walker plays the way he played today, oh man.
I don't know. I think PJ Walker playing the way he did today still would beat New York, because still playing the way he did, he scored a ton of points. New York would need to – they really need to capitalize on turnovers, though, I guess, the way Seattle did. But I don't know. I like Seattle's offense maybe a little bit better than New York still. It's an interesting matchup. New York at home to Guardians at MetLife. They haven't lost there yet. It's not game of the week. I'm not tapping at that yet because we still have a Sunday here and week 5 to go, Bryant. But man, New York winning this game makes the Roughnecks matchup a lot more intriguing. You're definitely correct.
It really is. All right, Alan. Well, that's it for this first day of week 5 for the XFL. 2 recaps. Go back and check them out on YouTube or on our podcast feed, xfl.com, if you want to get caught up with what happened in the first 2 games of week 5 on Saturday. Also, just a quick side note, the XFL did put out a statement on that shortened game from Saturday morning, so go check that out. That's on xfl.com as well. All right, Alan, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, I'll be live from Dignity Health Sports Park, giving you 2 recaps of the games tomorrow. St. Louis Battlehawks at the DC Defenders, and then the Wildcats hosting the Vipers. But that's it for this Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow. Also catch our show every Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app. All right, for Alan, this is Bryant. This is the XFL show. Remember, they're listening.